Hello, my beautiful, wonderful gems. Today we are going to learn how to make emotes for Live2D Cubism. How do we set those emotes up so that they're ready to go in VTube Studio? I am going to be using VTube Studio for this particular video. Amazing. So I'm going to assume that you have figured out your other stuff for rigging your 2D VTuber. If you have not, I do have a full YouTube series on this channel that you can check out for rigging a half-body VTuber. But other than that, this is how you do emotes. You can add them at any time. So it does not matter where your specific emote is once you have it set up in your Photoshop file. So before you bring the Photoshop file into Live2D itself, it does not matter where the mark is as long as you make sure that it is on top if that's where it needs to be for your drawing order. So I have this on layer 605, which means it's at the top. The reason you can't see it right now is because I have it turned off. So we're going to turn that back on. So see right here, I have an expression under the expressions folder, which I created myself by clicking the new folder button here. This is just to keep all my expressions organized. But what we'll do is I'm just going to clear out this, for example, the angry expression mark, and we're going to say yes. So I'm just going to start completely from scratch so you can see how we're going to do this. So the first thing you'll want to do is go ahead and click new parameter down at the bottom here. Then you'll type in whatever name that you want that's appropriate to the thing. We're going to call this angry Saya mark. And like I said, if you're using VTube Studio, you want to make sure that it says param, whatever the name of your parameter is. If there's spaces in the name up here, that's okay. You actually cannot put spaces in the ID. It won't let you. It will say invalid ID. So it's okay if it's together as long as it says the param and then the name up here. So that's very, very important for you to do. So make sure you check that. Next, I'm just going to we want to pretend that we have 0. Pretend 0 means off and maximum is going to be 1 for on. So it's like flipping a light switch. Like 0 is turning the lights off and 1 is turning the lights back on. And the default is wherever you want it to start. So this is going to be different depending on the emote or thing that you are showing and depending on the technique that you're using. So we actually want it to start with the angry mark always being off. So we do want the default to be 0. If it was 1, the angry mark would always be showing or would be showing right away, which we do not want. So we're just going to click 0 for that. It should go down at the bottom, then you'll see it here. I'm just going to move it into my expressions folder. This is not a requirement. You can leave it wherever you need to. I just have this for organization purposes. Next, what we're going to do is for expressions, this is a very common method. There's other ways you can do it, but is just by doing a simple opacity shift. So what we will do is we're going to drop 2 points because like I said, we have 0, which means off, and we have 1, which means on. So the left side is going to be turning the light switch off, and the right side is going to be turning the light switch on. So the way this works, again, parameters basically mean if this point is here, I want it to do blank thing. If this point is over here on this green dot, I want it to do this or that. That's how this works. So what we'll do then is we already have 1.0 has the angry mark on. We are going to go ahead and right click, snap to the far left point, and then we're just going to change our opacity to 0%. Sorry, that was my PC. So 0. So now as you see, when we switch this back and forth, you can see it turning on and off. I did the same thing here with my blush emote as well. Same exact concept. I just did it for the blush layer. Same for these constellations. This is another thing as well. So we'll turn that both back off. And then for happy closed, if you wanted to do like a closed eye expression, this is just a little bit of a bonus tip for you, is you could have it where the eyes, brings your closed eyes in. So if you drew those on their own separate layer, like these closed eyes are different than the main eyes. And then you could have an eyes hide. So then it turns off the eyes here, as you can see. Then I'll explain to you later how you can sort of double something up like that in a bit. You would want to have one that turns off your main eyes, and you would want to have one that would show the new eyes. So you see now if I turn them both off, her eyes are missing. And then in this case, we would just right click edit parameter, and the default would be 1 instead, because we don't want her eyes. We do not want her to go into VTube Studio with her eyes turned off, because if we had this set to 0, she would spawn into VTube Studio with her eyes off. So that's why the default is very important depending on the technique you're using and what you're trying to do utilizing the expressions key technique. You can do expression keys for a lot of different things. Like here, I did one for scared eyes if I wanted her to look scared just by shrinking her pupils. So then this is an on and off thing too. And don't worry about it in Live2D because you can combine these expressions later, like together. That's something that you would do outside of Live2D. So for example, if we wanted like angry mark plus her looking with her eye pupils, that's something we do outside of Live2D. So you don't have to worry about that. And then one more thing I want to talk about before we hop into VTube Studio itself is this is another great technique you can use for your clothes. So like I have a sweater toggle here. So if you want to do any type of clothing toggle, if you have multiple outfit designs in mind, this is a great thing you can do as well. So again, you would want your default, I'm just right clicking edit parameter. You want your default set to whatever you want the main thing to be. I want her sweater to be on because that's her main outfit. So the default is 1, not 0. Because if it was 0, it would automatically have her sweater off already. I don't want that. So again, if I switch this back and forth now, we'd be able to toggle her sweater. And you do want to make sure you rig everything everything up because you won't see it when it's off. It'll turn everything off, but you want to make sure that the sweater's rigged, because if the sweater's not rigged and she's like turning to the left and right, then obviously that's going to be a problem. So do make sure those things are rigged as well. So I'm going to assume that you already know how to export your file for VTube Studio. If you do not know how to export your file for VTube Studio, I will leave a card above. I have a video that shows you exactly how to bring your model over into VTube Studio. You can check that one out and then come back here when you are done. So I'm just assuming you already know how to put your model into VTube Studio. Make sure you put the updated model file if you have an old one in there because you're testing it. You want to make sure you have all that. Okay, awesome. So next we're just going to load our model in. So I'm going to bring one of my ones that I had in. And then next, what I'm going to do is go to settings, this little button up here, the little movie clip symbol. So next, after we click on the little clip movie up there, we'll click expression editor. So this is a new feature VTube Studio recently added. This was not always a thing. And then we will do create a new expression, and then you'll select that. And this is going to show you all the parameters that exist within your model. So you should see the one we created earlier show up here. So angry expression mark was the one that we created earlier. So let's do an example of this. We'll slide this on, and this is saying this is at 0 right now. Remember, 0 is when we had it turned off. So now we're just going to flip the switch on, and then you are going to name your expression after that. So we'll just call this angry Saya 2. I'm just calling it 2 because I already have one on this file. And then we will click save, and it should be in our list of expressions here now. You should see it showing up. After that, you can cancel out, and we will go down. We will click the plus button to add a new hotkey action, and we'll click hotkey action, do set/unset expression right here. We'll select that, and then we'll click on expression, and you can choose the one that we just made angry Saya 2. So they should show up here for you if you have made them. We'll select angry Saya 2, select key combination is going to be whatever you want to click to make it show up. So I'm just going to click V. You can do numbers, you can do anything else that you wanted to. You could even really hook this up to your stream deck at some point if you wanted to. And that is the combination. So then when I click V I'm clicking V on my keyboard right now. You see how it fades in and out. So there we go. Now we have an expression. So that's really, really fantastic. I had set some other ones up already too. So you can combine them. Like I just clicked number 2 to bring my blush in, and then I can click V. So again, you can combine. There is like, that's the everything's fine face combined with the blush combined. So you can have things turn on multiple times to combine it. So something else I would like to show you as well here is that you can have 2 at the same time. So remember when we did expression editor, you can create a new expression that has a combo of things that you've done. So say I don't want to click 2 keys at once. Say I want the blush turning on. We'll turn that to 1. We want the constellations turning on, and we want the scared eyes turning on like this. So I just want this whole thing. I want this whole thing to be one thing. I don't want it to click multiple keys. Okay, we can call this scared blush, and then we'll save that one as well. And now it should be in our expressions. You can click cancel out of there, and then we'll go to plus again, and we just do the same thing. Hotkey action, set, unset expression, and then you can go to expression and select the one we just named. So we did scared blush. And then let's choose a key. I'm just going to choose T, or let's do tab, and then I'll just hit tab on my keyboard, and now it does both at the same time. So if you want it to do both at the same time, you can do that as well. So that's really cool. This is brand new. Yay! Now you've created your first expressions. I'm super duper proud of you. Good work. Lastly, if you are interested in creating your own characters or learning more about character design, I am running a character design course. I'm doing a beta testing. So if you want to get into this course for free, it will cost money in the future. I'm choosing 10 people to test for it. You do not need to know how to draw. It is simply going to be, how do I come up with a character idea or design? And this could be helpful if you're working on a character design portfolio, or if you're working on making your own VTuber model or your own webcomic or anything like that. So I'll leave that form and that link down below if you are interested in signing up for my course. All right, thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll see you next time on the Sapphire Star. Bye!